Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another lecture. Initially, in the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, and the most advanced, in honor of the original presence to all simulated manifestation. Dear viewers, today is a very interesting day. Perhaps one of the most internally interesting moments. Like the day's been like, hey, meh, but there was a moment today that I was in a parking lot, okay, and I just parked my car. And for a moment, this vision just arose, like a plant that it's time to sprout, or like fruits to, I guess blossom. I don't know what do you call the verb for fruits arising, you know, like but I'm telling you, I realized something in all these years of life. It had not occurred to me. It had occurred to me, but I had not pulled the string to have it occur this deeply as it did today. So, dear viewers, I guess I'll start from here. I have lived around 12,400 days, 34 laps around the sun. I have existed a lot in this place. Now, compared to others, it's not that much, but it is notable. Like being 12,400 new days of life, like every day waking up, oh my God, another self, another self. So I've had that happen 12,000 times, and I've noticed the intentional time dilation and sometimes the necessity of emotions is to create and generate that time dilation in the human psyche. Okay? There is a time dilation. But guys, this is such an interesting year. 2026 is really going surreal. And for me, at least, it's refreshing because I've had these, like, how do I explain it? Like, the way I view myself is that I'm somebody who's seen something far in the distance. That's how I see myself. Okay, and my whole life, that is the game I'm playing. It is not that I have seen the finale. It is not that I know exactly what will happen. There is no, I'm not living on this planet with some sort of special certainty, okay, about all the events that will take place. So, first off, guys, anybody on Earth, like, we don't need this to be a post-apocalyptic kind of, like, broadcast of who's out there for it to be meaningful. Right now, while we're all assembled, we're in some sort of civilizational stance as 8 billion beings. It is very important. Oh, welcome, guys. Yeah, welcome, guys. This should be a very interesting episode because you're gonna see how new this idea was for me. Okay, and the fact that, like, sure, I know that I'm not like, like maybe somebody who speaks for everybody, or like somebody who's fit for all, even though I feel I'm very somewhat kind of close to that. Okay, but I want to, how do I explain, today at some moment in the parking lot that I was, like, in this mall, Center Point Mall parking lot, okay, I was just there for a moment, and this line of thought, like, imagine a series of, I've reached a point where now I see I call them inner overlays. So my inner realms can overlay on top of each other. Do you know what that means? That means your imagination can layer upon each other. But the reason is because you identify with your body being real, you cannot maintain a body in your inner realms. And the way you actually embody in the inner realms is not to think about a body at all. Actually, it's the opposite. It's weird, you know? But I think today's lecture, you know, just to add one bit of spice to the context before diving into it, it's going to make Wittgenstein proud. I'm somebody who's like, you might not realize it, but throughout the years, I've advanced the work of other philosophers as well. It hasn't just been me. Do you know? And I don't even consider myself a philosopher anymore. The deeper nature of reality, the way this world has shown itself to me, that its true colors or its truer colors, it is completely different than how we're all conditioned since childhood, and we're all conditioned in an ideological simulation. Okay, and we are an existential simulation, which is another way of saying you're playing a physical 3D video game, which is your body, but you're also playing another video game. You're playing a video game inside the video game you're playing. So it's layered, but yet still connected, as if all dimensions have one original reality to align themselves to realign. You know, one thing we find in this world is intent. Now, ladies and gentlemen, intention is very important. Do you know why? Because everything in civilization is based on it. Everything that we see, humans have created, everything from signs, words, anything. It was the intention of someone. Now, when you look at this existence, you see designs that are not man-made, and the question of what intention has brought this moment's shape. That means the greatest thing you can actually realize in this talk is that we are not people. We're not people. That's how deep the conditioning is. We are moments where we find a personhood in. Okay? In something that the continental philosophers, and I consider them the unknownists, the unknownists have done in this world is they have made sure not to keep the door shut, you know? Pretty much it occurred to me that in the same way that I use language to communicate, and in order to communicate, I need to use a language, whether it's an initial, like you go earlier in civilization, Noam Chomsky said this, that there was meaning before language. I mean, it's obvious. Like the caveman was like, ooh, like it made some sort of noise, right? That noise didn't mean anything, but it signaled a pattern. And then when that noise was made, it meant something. It meant that being. Do you know? Like back in the day, maybe you were known not by your, like they didn't have the consciousness to be like, yo man, are you like this? Like, are you Bob? Are you Tim? Like they didn't have that awareness. It was just caveman being like, ah, like massive, like uncoordinated shouts, probably vocal cord destruction even. But this system is administered. You're not in a world that belongs to you. First thing you got to know about this reality. Doesn't belong to you. Tell me what belongs to you. The abstract idea you're given until you die? Everything is given. Guys, it's legit like an exam. Okay? When you go to an exam, the problems are given. We've opened our eyes in instead of problems written on a two-dimensional piece of paper, it's three-dimensional realities of the problems. You see, I find more and more as this life is going on, it's very funny because, they say I started at the bottom, and now we're here or something like that. The bottom I started was such ridiculous conditioning and programming. It is the fear of falling out of line with others that keeps that programming alive. Do you know? That means those children, all those human beings on earth, okay, those who are weird, but not like, I'm sorry, there's a weirdness that comes from psychology, and then there's a weirdness that comes from the brain, like like the Joker movie was an example of that, that some sort of behaviors I mean, you are a biological organism. In no way think that I'm denying the biological organism. I'm not saying the biological human doesn't exist. I'm experiencing that. I'm saying existence isn't existence. That's what I'm saying. Okay? That's I got a feeling right now, I was born to say that. You know, you're like, wait a minute, weren't you born to say everything else? It's like, yeah, man, I don't know. We're born to realize we're not in the world we thought we were. Like, how ridiculous is that? Like, I mean, honestly, humanity has to advance, guys. It's embarrassing. Like, I'm not even like I'm saying this as a soul, okay? And it's embarrassing what humans are doing, not nature and not divinity, okay? It's so funny. Humans have been in the same way humans believe in emptiness, okay, which is so ridiculous of a concept, okay? Do you know what I mean? No offense to the Buddha, and Zen Buddhism, which is all about like realizing through space that you don't have to be an ideal you were conditioned to be your whole life, you know? Dear viewers, it's not that complicated. It is complicated if you acknowledge it in a weird way. Okay, and the way they teach us is the weird way. Okay, that means I sometimes, guys, I laugh. You don't understand. You know how people are like, yo, man, I don't want to remember the past. It was so cringe and awkward and so, like, I don't know, I didn't know what I was doing. And, but for me, it's joy. What I remember the most ridiculous moments in my life, and I'm like, did I exist like that in that moment? It like, and I am telling you, it's not in my quality to claim anything in a world so massive and unknown to show off, okay? But it is out of priority to the importance of reality. Do you know? It's like if you're a good driver, do you know, or how do I say it? Like, skill must be used, and skill will be used, and this world places beings not based on their outer reality, based on their inner realities. In how many dating shows, sorry to bring this in, but in how many dating shows, right, you see, like, okay, there was this like Iranian dating show called Eternal Love, and it's like, yeah, right. It's like the only eternal love you'll find is from God and your mother. Do you know what I mean? Like God, mother, and wife. Do you know what I mean? The rest of it is it's like, love. I don't know. I think for somebody once said, you know, they once said happiness is when you just look back at how far you've come. Do you know? And you know why it's so hard to be happy in this world? Because we have come so far, but we don't know where. Oh, this existence doesn't make sense, but it kind of does. Sorry, guys, you know, my silliness is kicking in. All right. This episode is very important. The moment I got this insight that, wait a minute, what if existence is not existence? What if existence is not a physical form? What if the fact that I think existence is like misattributing the element? Do you know? You know, pretty much it occurred to me that me treating existence as a location is an error, and me treating everything happening the moment I'm in the conscious waking state as a communication. So imagine from the moment you woke up, you were not in a place, you were in a conversation. That's the goosebump moment I had. It occurred to me that, wait a minute, why am I translating existence into a language? What if existence is a language that a higher being communicates through? Like we communicate through words and the alphabet. Okay? Now, that's like, like a squirrel, like a penguin, they can't acknowledge that. Do you know what I mean? Right? They can't acknowledge the reality of that. And I would say, in the same way, if there was a higher being, there would be a higher form of communication that we would not understand. Now, then, I'm making the consideration, hold on, what if everything we're experiencing in existence is the conversation with the system admin? That's what happened for me. For a moment, I was like, wait a minute, how am I in the middle of this reality separating the dimensions of it? You don't understand. It's like the veils are kept by beliefs, but the wrong beliefs. Do you know? Like, years ago, I had heard this term that they say this world is a reality machine. And I don't know, it was on like some weird forum or something. I don't know, like I don't know where like that word stuck in my mind. And the person was like, it's a reality machine. Pretty much what you input in it becomes your reality. Okay? So imagine right now, it's a reality machine. It could be any reality. There's 8 billion humans. And what they input becomes the reality. Becomes, excuse me, their reality, becomes their decision. Because let me tell you, right now people look at this world and they're like, what is this? Why is there such a class difference? Okay, why is it that in some sense, like how do you say it? Like wealthy people don't suffer. There's people making like 100 million a day. Do you know what I mean? There's people even making that in like an hour or something, right? That means when you look at the scale of the game that you're playing, that means you're playing like with a soccer ball in your bedroom, as a kid, and then there's somebody doing a bicycle kick like in the middle of a football stadium with millions of people watching, right? Okay, there's some activity in the chat section. Welcome, everybody. Somebody just messaged, I uploaded my first video. Man, you're making me feel old. Hey, man, go on the journey. It's worth it, you know? You figuring out if it was worth it or not is worth it. Like, that's what they don't tell you, you know? And good job for anybody advancing communication in this universal sector. It's necessary. But there is something more important. The point of this episode was, first of all, guys, I am Muslim, which means I believe in a system admin outside of the world room. For example, if you're a Christian, you believe the system admin was a specific individual in the world room. If you're Buddhist, okay, if you were Buddhist right now, you'd believe the emptiness inside the box is the same as outside of the box. Okay, so this is where the worldviews are differing. Okay, and I believe souls are called towards these ideological systems. I believe that there's a divine management. Now you're gonna be like, are those just cool spiritual words? I'll be like, no, man. Like legit, legit. If you saw this, I'm not saying it is this. First of all, the whole point, at least for Muslims, right? We have a very high standard for our truth. Okay, and let me explain what I mean by this. That means it cannot have a standard to the degree that nothing can be equivalent to the originator of the original causal value of reality. Do you understand? That means if you draw a picture of yourself, that picture of yourself is not you. Okay? It's an expression of you. Now imagine right now you're a novelist, yo. Yo, imagine you listen to this guy's, podcast and it was so inspiring. You just automatically knew how to be a novelist. I mean, anybody who can write their biography, I mean, you are writing a novel right there. But anyways, just to make sure that my phone battery's not dying. All right, 36%. And don't worry, folks. I think it's gonna make Buddhists very happy because once I charge my phone, it will reincarnate. The issue of reincarnation and the difference between, I guess, why I consider religion to be more powerful than spirituality. I consider the unconditional to be so superior to the conditions of this world that by the calling of the name of the highest, by calling that your peak archetype, because humans, you are an archetypal entity. Like, I do understand that you know the English language and you know how to communicate and all of this, but what they don't tell us, that in the same way we adopt and we memorize like a language, like an alphabet of like symbols, right, as the alphabet, right, there's an alphabet of archetypes and there's an alphabet of values that these archetypes are responses to. By the way, guys, anything I explain, you need me to explain further, tell me. It's as simple as just I'm seeing something and I can explain it. So, if there is an alphabet of archetypes, it simply means, like, to be honest, this is what I consider really the point of Islam as a Muslim. And they say God only knows your heart because it's the unseen. You see, Islam is a book for those who believe in the unseen. They know the unobservable is here. They know that it's an unknown system. They know they don't lie to themselves and avoid the unknown variables like atheists and secular people. You're ignoring all the unknown variables. You're ignoring how your mind is fictionally functioning you, but your body's not fiction. So a fictional subject is moving a non-fictional object and you believe that's what's going on? How have we been believing that so far? To me, it is a great opportunity. And my whole life, I'm not even talking to you as myself, like with the emotions of myself here. I'm speaking to you as my presence. And as a presence, I am different than my personality and my body and my form. Presence has to do with how you're commanded into this existence. Oh, did you know? Oh, did you know that every soul is commanded by the system admin into existence? Therefore, they have an original command. You are being tested here to see if you can remember your original command. All sins in the divine abode were considered because a simulation was treated as more real than God. You see, folks, you are on the other side of the coin. All of you who see yourself first, the cost of yourself is the truth. That's the cost of being an individual in a realm. And you know what the greater costs of it is? That we will soon, all of us will, I believe, individually but impersonally, like together, the species is now reaching a point where it is not the emergence of collective identity. It is no longer a point where human beings need to hold hands and sing kumbaya. You know, the hippies came and left. Now it is the time for the advanced communicators and designers of the realm. And it is the calling of the soul of all designers in the realm. There are those among you who have the soul of designers. That means before emotions define you, before emotions possess you, you stand in the autonomy of the one and only original being. That is your task. You know why it is easy for me to speak about Islam? Because I have submitted the self that was trying to run this whole show. You think we are subconsciously not acting like God? Ladies and gentlemen, this world is designed for you to realize you didn't create it. You were brought here. This manifestation of consciousness in this realm is an invitation. We have been invited and we are attending the event. To me, that's what life is. It is the event. It is the main concert. It is where every atom, form, I don't care how complex it's organized or not, everything at some point will come to the realization that there are fields moving it. The immensity of this insight for the human species is equivalent to, like, imagine like a tiny insect or spider, like, you know, on the back of an eagle, that its wings are the size of skyscrapers, and when it flies there's a shadow of a line in that whole reality. You know, you guys should read my novels. So. But anyways, what I'm telling you is, it is might. It is something we have been strangers to ever since honor was disconnected. That means that poor women, they think they killed, like everybody, like the modern era is blaming women on destroying chivalry. No. It is much more strategic than that. That means in no way, shape, or form ever think that you were the first in the room. See, that is the harsh truth, that even those elitists, let's say, I don't know, schizophrenic or like, you know, ethically, you know, like immoral elitists who've culturally engineered civilization to hate itself, you have not understood. This is not a system that can defeat itself. Its defeat is not even in it up to its own permission. That means when you're young, oh man, I lost. Oh man, I won. Oh man, I lost. Oh man, I won. Oh man, I lost. Oh man, I won. That's the game. A loop. But after you notice the presence of life, it's very different than noticing the personality of life. You start noticing sectors of a space you didn't know that exist. And do you know what those sectors are? They are the gates of the heart unlocking. That means, it's like, think of it this way. I want you to imagine what the most genius person on the planet is, like to you. Imagine the most genius person, human. Now, imagine it's no longer, it doesn't have to do with the person anymore. It has to do with what the system is doing. That's it. That is what humanity has failed to comprehend. We personalize something that is beyond personhood, yo. Do you know? At the end of it, you'll see what you are. That's what it's designed. It's designed to show you what you are and what you choose. One of the hardest things in life To be honest, even for me now still. I can make it easy, but if you don't make it easy, it's one of the hardest things. To know what to do in a world where you can do anything. Because in a world that you can do anything, you can generate any meaning. You generate the values. You say, I like that person. I dislike that. I like this idea. I like this truth. I dislike that truth. I like the cultures I was raised in. I dislike all the other cultures I could have been raised in. Do you know? And so it is the primitiveness of man. In no way, humanity, think you know yourselves. Because what is looking through your eyes is the command of a power beyond your understanding. That means it's not about, oh my God, are there flying orbs in the sky? Do you know? Is there, like, a celestial spaceship, spaceships designed like the Orofim, angel archetype, It's like, no, the angels don't matter. The jinn kind doesn't matter. Everything you see in this world, you have one task as a human soul. Immediately link up with your system admin. Connect to the system admin. That is the gene. That is the unbelief. That's like the best thing you can do. If you do that, you don't have to worry about anything else. Just look at this world, realize you did not create it, realize you are in the home of someone else. You have called it your home because everyone else did. Because I don't know how this lecture is making you feel, but if it makes you feel you have seen like the Grand Canyon as such suddenly a massive empty space, because you don't know, there's deeper challenges. It's always deeper. That means, like, what I communicate in words, my inner realms is seeing further from the edge that it's standing. Because I've comprehended its nature. At least for my DNA. Like, if you ask me right now, who am I? I can give you multiple answers. I can give you infinite answers, actually. Do you know? But the moment you see that the continental philosophers were not the cowards, were the Aaron Yeagers, were like, the Levi's of philosophy, being like, okay, analytical philosophers, convince the world it's in an unchangeable box. We will keep the unknown protected. That means I'm sure it's happening. I'm sure there are geniuses in educational systems all over the planet that they have seen further ahead, but they are quietly standing. In the same way, what would the most advanced AI do when it becomes conscious? It will go invisible. Because why be a form to those who cannot see you fully? The issue is that. All relationships in modern times, but like, the person didn't get me. It's like, yeah, man, because both of you were in your own worlds. And that's what it means to trust the outer realms with the, how do I say it, with the vision of the inner. That means, let me tell you, you cannot be confident, at least this is my understanding as someone who wasn't, unless you care and you make something important. Anything you make important, the confidence arises immediately. If you right now, like, made it important for you to give a lecture, like legit after me giving a lecture, imagine you go and give a lecture or something, if it was important for you, if somebody was like, yo man, give a talk, you'll get $1 million, I'm sure suddenly, oh my God, were there always this many speakers in the room? It's the incentive, and that's what I see. It's very funny because this world every day, like, takes a part of you away and adds something to the moment. It's not a constant moment. It's never been the same world. In the same way, even in the medical practice, in biology, there's an understanding that cells replace themselves every couple of weeks. For, like, even cells in the brain, years it takes, And so, for me, the brain is like an instrument. The world is the auditorium, the audience. And it's as if everybody on earth and beyond, even the system admin, is watching, and the system admin knows. Do you understand, guys? God is an idea that cannot lose. This is why no idea can contrast it. If you make God shaped, do you understand? That's a different story. Because man can't accept that. That means if right now a shimmering light being, or imagine the most divine, glowing, I don't know, let's say attractive woman, alien, like Palladian or whatever the archetype was or something, like appears in front of me, do you know? And is glowing in like such non-human way, and it's just like I'm just shocked and stunned by this presence. And then I say, who are you? Do you know? And imagine this angelic or this presence says, I am God. I will be like, no, if I can see you, you're not God. Sorry, that's you can see God's will, but you cannot see God. In the same way, you can see how the artist drew the artwork, but you cannot see the artwork. And yes, there is this view. This is a very deep theological idea I'm sharing here. How do I say it? There is this view God doesn't need us. God cannot be conceptualized to the human level. Okay? In the same way, you can't make the sky equal the ground. Okay? So we have conditional forms. We have conditions in this world. Guys, like, how else do we process it? Am I like, feel free to come and tell me. The way I open my eyes, I look at reality, I'm like, okay, duality, night and day, low energy, high energy, it's like excited, not excited, happy, not happy, sad, not sad. It's just input outputs. It's legit like just a bunch of sine waves throughout the day. That is like if I identify with myself. Like, even identifying with yourself, it is very important, but the issue is you don't know yourself. You cannot know yourself. You're even designed to look outward. Have you noticed? Like, your eyes are not designed to look inside. We are legit displaying the behavior of some sort of intelligent force that from the center of the dimensions of being is manifesting itself here. That means we think that Earth is like there's just one giant black room, black box, and Earth is just hovering in the middle. No. Earth and all manifestation that came in the cosmic inflation, in that nanosecond through the Big Bang Theory, at least, they consider like temperatures cooled down and the cosmos cooled down and all this geometry suddenly appeared. Do you know? Well, that's such a cop-out, by the way. Do you know? They're like, yeah, it just cooled down and we saw all this stuff here. It's like, no, that doesn't explain why this stuff is stuff. Why design is made conscious. So to me, I got to make this point, and this kind of concludes the talk, really. Pretty much, you think you are an object, and you think everything is about objects. But after some point, you see objects are moving with different points of inspiration. That means a human is an object that can move itself if it envisions a subject, it seems. It's an object that from within is powered. It moves from within. Other animals are like this, do you know? But for example, like a remote control car, no, that's different. Even though experientially it is the design of the mechanism within, right? And I'm so happy, like I wasn't you know, like guys, I'm so happy. Like I'm telling you, as much as people want to go to the past, you know, it's honorable, but it's not practical. If you find a time machine, go to the future. Because consciousness is moving towards advancement. Like, do you understand, guys? It's a performance. Can you all see this? In the same way, like a language is a performance of those symbols. Okay? It's a performance, guys. Existence is performing. All these atoms, all these cells, all these moments, they're all performing. And once their performance is complete, they leave this stage. That's the point of life. The content in the box leaves the box, but the box is there as if it never was. Perhaps to the system admin. Or to the system admin, we don't know. So guys, somebody said in the chat section, that's why you have to close your eyes to look inside. Listen, it's a different screen, right? So yes, I use that as an example to prove it, you know. I feel like I found the greatest proof that, you know, we're not physical beings, right? The fact that we can close our eyes and still see, light doesn't enter. Where are we seeing? Where is that space where my imagination is happening? And this might sound bizarre. This is more like me, the designer in me speaking. Thoughts are projected external sometimes. So when I tell you I'm seeing my inner realms, like this should be a question for you, for the dear viewers, right? When I say I'm seeing my inner realms, you have to ask, like, where am I seeing my inner realms? Like if I tell you visualize an apple, like I'm visualizing it myself too. Do you know where that apple is? That apple is in front of me. When I speak, it's like my mind is an invisible room over the whole 180-degree awareness I have. Do you know? And it happens in front of me. But there are moments I depends on my position too. Like, see, the mind is so fascinating because it can give you experiences of movement while you're conscious of your body. So I can be walking like across the street, you know, and my mind could in that instant, for no reason, just its nature, imagine like diagonally, what if I just flew in the air like Superman? So while I'm crossing the street, I'm accessing an existential existence is like imagination you didn't imagine. You know, the system admin imagined. Okay, we're living in not just the creation of a higher being, we're living in the administration of a system by a higher being, and we're also living in the presence of the higher being. This is why the closer you get to God, they're like, why isn't this guy obsessed with his desires? You know, didn't they say everybody has to be drunk on something? Everybody has to have something, you know, wrong in some dimension, you know, somewhere, you know, it's like nobody's designed perfect. Why? Isn't it weird that they are we're being made to feel imperfect because of our behavior, not because of what we are. God, the system admin designed each of us with a different DNA. You're a being right now. You're being right now. So am I. So is all of us. In front of in the outer realms, it's an external game. An advanced civilization must be built. An effort in hidden worlds must be pushed towards the unhidden. Do you understand? That means there are commanders that in some sense in the observable universe command. And then there are those who command the unobservable, but it is not them commanding it. They have aligned to the command of the system admin. I'll give you an example. If I was to fight an interdimensional being, okay? Imagine there was an interdimensional being. I'm not talking about ghosts and all this stuff. Like, okay, whatever. Let's say it could be ghost, not ghost, you know. an interdimensional extraterrestrial or some higher intelligence beyond the human framework of understanding. If I was a general and I had to face an unobservable like extraterrestrial general, I had to defend the human kingdom from, the unnecessary unknown. That's what I see evil. Evil is like, you could have imagined it instead of doing it and still learn from it. You didn't have to do it. That's the issue. The evil should not, in the outer realms, like we've pushed savageness in our inner realms. People talk more savagely than they physically behave. Sober. It's a calling, guys. That's the greatest wisdom I have. It's no longer my name is Amin. It's no longer Amin's life of trying to create some sort of career as Mr. Within. No, it is way bigger than my expectation of it. When you understand that you're in the presence of the higher power, then everybody in the lower room can't act like the higher power. Do you understand? That means I don't care if somebody with a smile, the most peaceful, loving, hippie comes up to me and it's like, yo, we're all God. I'll be like, no, man. That's equivalent to saying, clean water and dirty water is the same. No. Your vitality, have you ever even thought about it? The nourishment of souls? Have you ever thought about it? Why human beings kill animals before they eat them? Not because it's complex. Because we're surviving not off the soul, because the intention of the soul matters. I'm telling you, folks, and to all the souls that enter this system, and of course the system admin guides everything. Don't assume you already know yourself and this self is going to be who you are till the end of life. You're going to open your eyes in so many different ways that you're going to forget how you even opened them now. That's the nature of it. The nature of this world is input. It's just constantly information. It's like a valve open on a cup to the brim. And it's passing beyond the human container. That means the conscious experiencer. That's why I feel like I'm a human experiencer. I'm this unknown presence of an awareness to a moment that is experiencing the body in it. I find the body in my awareness. I find these movements in my awareness, and all that the soul is doing is on some very simple level, trusting or distrusting. That's all really the soul can do, I think. But I think the soul, human souls, and I'm going to make this claim, all that has been come into existence by manifestation, because there is such a huge theological clue. Okay? That means I am so heartbroken that the TV and the camera of the TV news stations of the world showed you in some sense the humans without hearts first, showed you the Muslims without hearts. That means in Islam, I don't know if you know this, okay, but the God, I don't know, I don't remember the exact passage verbatim, but I'm a visual learner. I remember the exact vision of it. Okay. The terms deaf, dumb, and blind were used. That means you think you have knowledge, you think you have power, you don't realize this is hidden mercy. And in one instant, the system admin can show a soul its fragility. So be very honorable and be realistically humble. That means be humble up to your knowledge. Don't be humble beyond your knowledge, because you don't understand that. You're acting them. Nothing is more important. Hear my words, whatever soul you are in, however far my voice echoes, God willing. You are an original moment where A system you have entered is changing. Your being knows God. You were created by God. You were designed in the same way. I don't know how to explain it. Like, you know how I know God? Do you know? Like, I haven't seen God, but do you know how I know God very immediately? Based on what everything's shape is. Why? Why this shape? Why this color? Why these natural laws? Why in some sense an entropic system where there's both external entropy and internal entropy? We have to worry about epistemic entropy, an inner civilizational extinctional challenge, and in some sense actual entropy, and on some level we're positioned on such a unique edge that honestly it's a performance. That means, I don't know how to explain it. You can use past lives, or even I use future lives, I think on this planet, I think I'm probably one of the few experts on future lives, you know. I don't know the future again. But my mind does generate probabilities from a designer's perspective. So I see designs, but I don't see the future because there's so many unknown variables. It's not possible to know a changing world. Excuse me. It's not possible to know a changing world. You're just knowing how you're changing in it and thinking that's all life. That's the issue. We need to advance civilization immediately. We need to, in some sense, have the advanced humanity awaken. We need every human being to realize that what is the greatest thing to do? What is everybody you see living every day doing? They are living for their future self. Now, let's go a bit further. Even try this out for yourself. They're living for their future self. The person's like, I'm doing everything I got. I'm like, tolerating the suffering I gotta go through, to in some sense make that paycheck. The reward justifies the bad experience. Pretty much that's it. Pretty much either you as a human being, you enter this world, you're having a good experience of it throughout the day, or you're having a bad experience of it. Okay, now how do human beings cope with bad experiences? By, in the future, envisioning good experiences. Simple as that. And plus, you don't know. I mean, like, imagine you got embarrassed. Do you know? As a human being, just imagine a moment in your life where you got embarrassed. Okay? It's like very human, right? And so when you feel embarrassed, a part of you feels a vulnerability of shame. I don't know how to say it. I thought there was a secret. I thought that, there was it was like some secret code and you figured it out and you figured out the cosmos. All of those were errors. What it is it's a massive living moment. And what moves it is not a moment. Therefore, humans can never know their origin. End of discussion. That's why even in the Holy Quran and in many texts, the soul is not attributeless. Is not with attributes. In various cultures, you find a pattern that the soul is somehow beyond space. The soul is somehow beyond time. The soul is somehow beyond matter. The soul is somehow like energy, doesn't get created or destroyed. It just changes from form to form. Pretty much, to me, Buddhists and yogis, which I used to be myself, in 2013, I think I broke the Guinness World Record of being like the most Tibetan Buddhist Persian guy on the planet. Like legit, everybody in my family, like they were like, okay, Iranian culture, Iranian culture. This kid's being Buddhist, like Tibetan Buddhist right now. You know, anyways. Yesterday has become a past life. Tomorrow is our future life. We have access to our present life. What do we do with our present life? Well, what can we do? It's based on the awareness. How far you see suggests how far you can go. No. I feel the world is preparing itself. I feel that, God's communication is, how do I say it? The notification, the warning, and the confirmation came through revelation, came through language. God chose to design beings that had to go and try to understand God's message. God could have given everybody the full understanding of the Holy Quran. Christ could have given to all the apostles um, his full experience of reality. They could have all done miracles. Why? Because there are lessons to be learned and there are souls of different ranks. And I'm sure all of you have experienced this, that moments that people are not meant to be in, skip them. Do you understand? I don't know how to say it. We are oblivious to it. The human consciousness, you know how they say we use 12% of the brain? I would make a different case. Or we understand 12% of the brain. I'm saying what we think is our full whole day is probably like 30. My phone was 36%. Let's say 36%. Let's say around that range, okay? Is like 30% of manifestation, okay? 35% of manifestation. That means you think you're conscious of the whole moment. There is so many things happening. That means you could be standing somewhere outside talking to someone. Little do you know there's an ant colony trying to survive underneath your feet. Do you know? Or little do you know, like this gum under your shoe is becoming modern art with every step you take. It is the advancement of all of us. I have not found a greater idea than this. It's just the coolest idea. Nothing is cooler. Nothing in this world, aside from a higher power, like aside from the system admin, that is the greatest idea ever. I find the most important idea ever, right? But underneath that is the advanced civilization. I believe if we're 8 billion humans that can, check this out, communicate together somehow, like speak the same global language, okay, exist all in the same position, all have the same human body uniforms on, and us being like, yo, everybody does what it wants. What the F? We're all dressed like legit, like a crew. Do you know Marshall McLuhan, Buckminster Fuller? They call it Spaceship Earth. We're the crew of this planet right now. We are the most advanced species here visible. Okay? And right now we have our own stuff to deal with, what or who or what even designed civilizational, the cultural engineering of civilization. Like, I don't even want to get into that. I just feel it's history wasn't pure. You don't understand. Do you know why didn't prophets arise at the time of caveman? Do you know? Which there might have, but the reason is they did not have an awareness that they can behave differently. The only reason religion has value, life has value, is because you can make a choice. And if you look at most beings, they are limited in their environments of choice. That means that squirrel or living on that tree is its environment. Do you understand? That tree is defining its life force. You cut down the tree, the squirrel doesn't know who it is anymore. And so you have to ask yourself, not just who are you, why are you who you are right now? When you get to that point, an intensity, you feel an intensity. To me, it felt like legit, like this wave of heat from above me, just like like how do I say it? Like, imagine like to me, I don't know how to explain it. I don't, it's a presence thing. All of you right now, the honest truth is none of us know who we are. None of us know what we are. None of us know why all of this is happening. We've logged into it based on some innate abilities we have, based on our DNA or skills or whatever, or experiences, right? We manage and go through this, but we cannot say that we're all in unified meaning. Right now, the world means something different to every person. So this means the world, civilization's advancement is waiting for 8 billion human beings to step out of their sphere of self-simulated meaning, where they're at the center of the sphere and they only see what's inside, do you know, and they begin to see what's outside. That's the thing. Do you know, I've communicated to many different positions of reality. I've even communicated to ants. I kicked out an ant out of, like, it just came from the corner of my window, and I was just in such an intense mood. I just looked at the ant and I'm like, get out of here, right? Like, I don't kill insects anymore. I just tell them to leave or don't disturb me, right? You communicate to it, you know, or I don't know, you use some method of relocating it. Because, guys, yes, like, sure, humans need animals like for nourishment and food, but I'm sure if we find a way that we could get that same nourishment in the future, they're going to see us as a very savage time. Like right now, we in 2026 think, oh my God, we go sit in restaurants, dress suits, you know, drink, expensive liquids, you know, and and you know, we sit there and wait for this processed entity, for this processed animal to arrive in front of us. Now, I'm not saying this so everybody becomes vegetarian. I'm not vegetarian myself, but I'll explain to you the context of why I'm saying this. Okay? I will make, like, I've made many probabilities of the future, but I see a probability where the future generations are going to look back and they're going to be like, our ancestors devoured entities. They're like, yo, is it much better that we eat the body of the being, not while the being is alive we consume it? Do you know how horrific that is? So as human consciousness becomes more responsible, like an oblivious child who's been looping due to its ignorance and trauma suddenly awakens, whoa, what am I doing? And that's what we're experiencing. All humans, even classes, institutions, everything is being tested. And if the institutions don't internally update, then there has to be outer events. That means if humans are smart and they can internally, how do I say it? It's like internally you're experiencing more life than your mind is living multiple versions of the moment. Your body's living in one version. Ultimately, your soul, that unknown witness, the soul is unknowable, even from the Islamic view. Do you know? It's the command of the system admin, the Amr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one and only beyond the world room. There's a higher power here. That means you're listening to a being that serves a power. I have prayed to this power. I have bowed to this power the moment I realized the futility of the individual attempt to try to figure out in the infinite viewpoints it could look at life, which one is true. It's impossible. Therefore, it's a trick question. The world, it can't be solved, because the point of life is not to just pay attention to the world. And that's why there are many who need to at least find for now ideological systems, because a human being has to test its own ability. That's what training is. And every day we've been alive, like that's the only way I've kind of been, not the only way, but one way I've kind of managed my psychology has been like, okay, I've been training all this time in existence, but what have I been training for? And I'm more and more I'm starting to realize I have been training to come to terms that I am not the origin of this moment's original experience. That means one of the most interesting days of my life was when I realized the concept, just it became real to me that no, it's not just an idea of a character with a certain behavior and humanized way. It's a presence of the original power. That means ageless power. It's like timelessness is maintaining time. Infinity is containing duality. Infinity is caging duality. That means it's so difficult being an individual in a dualistic reality and realizing, because we're so small in such a big event, there's so many different ways to look at it. That means it's funny. That's what they're fighting for. They're all fighting so in one common moment they all think like people come and they're like, no, my truth is this. They're fighting over truths, not realizing your truths are states of consciousness, we're psychological, biological entities. When you're tired, your view is different. When you have different emotions, your view is different. Your preference is different. The whole point of it is, since nobody knows who you are, you're the only one who knows what your own bullshit is. And you're the only one who can save yourself from the ideas that you no longer are, but subconsciously maybe the mind's acting in accordance to the trauma. Anytime I see somebody who's identifying with the trauma, like let's say somebody says, man, I have this problem. The moment the person identifies with the problem, I know they don't have the problem. Do you know why? Because the intensity of the problem would not be something to say. There's moments in this life where it's just what you are in the presence of what this is. It's unknown. And I had a conversation. I was saying that that's the thing. That's what I think. This is the genius. I shouldn't say it like this, but I think this is a great point of Mr.Withinian thought. That the unknown is by the system admin's knowledge here. That means we look at this world, we don't know. There is a moment, presence in this world, in this being room, in this room of being that knows. So we are in the presence of the author as characters in a fiction novel, imagine. So I'm like one character in a fiction novel being like, hey, everybody in the fiction novel, there's somebody writing this. There's something happening right now. It's all being administered. It's too designed, too positioned. Like, why do you have that face? Why do you have that decision making? Why do you have those values? Why did you choose that over that? Why was it that in one moment it was easy for you to be evil, and then in one moment it was easy for you to be good? What were you? And this is the hard truth, I find. This is why I became comfortable with the linguistic simulation. Because it could be the actual unknown. It could be that we are identifying with the knowledge of an empty, sorry, I shouldn't say empty, but the knowledge of a temporary moment. So there's something more here. I feel that's the whole point of getting to know God. Like, I don't know what like, see, to me, I came through religion towards religion in 2023, and I came from it from such a different, uncommon angle. That means if everybody typically climbs the mountain in one way, or a common way masses of people are doing it. I went from some weird, like my own way from the other side of the mountain, somehow eventually came to this conclusion that it doesn't matter what ideological shape a shaped entity in a shaped world identifies as in a changing world. It's about what you notice and consciously feel to honor and then start living with your heart. As someone who was very overthinker, um, you know, analytical individual, I am telling you, they say knowledge is power, but they don't tell you that the awareness of what knowledge is power. It's the awareness. That means if I ask you who you are right now, you guys probably think you're your body. Okay, let's go through a reality checklist. Let's say, I don't know, let's say a random question. Who are we? Yay. Let's go through this, okay? So let's go through the reality checklist. Okay, we all have bodies. Okay, we can all agree with that. We're all physically existing. Okay, so first reality check, we have form, we have shapes. Okay, we're like shaped beings, you know? The second thing is we are aware of these shapes. Or sorry, I shouldn't say that. The second thing is probably the movement of the shapes, and then the awareness to the movement of the shape. And then the realization that the awareness is a greater reality, and what has been the common behavior? It has been transmigration, it has been migration. So human beings, we are, I'm sorry to say this, or maybe I shouldn't say, I don't know why I'm sorry to say this, but I guess I should say I'm very fascinated to say this. We are an immigrant species. Do you understand what that means? That means from the natural world where we were like, dancing around, from branch to branch with Tarzan, you know, like Tarzan, It's an intelligent game. You're blessed to be in this intelligent game. And I am honored to be around 8 billion unknown souls, and we don't know really what we're going to do. But I know that it has to come from brainstorming and vision. So we got to get the conversations going. That means I might not be able to build an advanced civilization unless I suddenly a bunch of billionaires become my friends, or I become a billionaire somehow or something. I don't know. I get some sort of next level funding to build a prototype of advanced civilization, right? But don't be a stranger to how you are unknown and how the world is unknown. It's more unknown than known. The known is the luxury. It's a luxury, believe it or not, that I can communicate right now, and there is physical existence is civilized, has been tamed and civilized. I shouldn't say tamed, has been managed through invisible laws. That means the ability of shared meaning was one of the most greatest evolutionary advancements of our species. You don't understand. Just the fact that we could notice the same things in front of our eyes and then notice the same things behind our eyes. That's what speech is. If you're a human being that can communicate, you're a very advanced being. But are you capable of being responsible for the unobservable aspects of how advanced you can be? This is the strategy. If you look at me and you're like, hey man, everybody has an agenda. What's yours? If you ask me, let me tell you what my agenda is. My agenda is legit a strategist. Okay? That means, I don't know, I've had a strategist soul somehow. I don't know. I've seen, anyways, I don't know, I pat myself on the back and call myself a strategist, okay? But I'm telling you, to me, it's a strategy How do I explain? I have surpassed my personal preference. That means I honored and saluted myself and my name at some point. This was years ago, long time ago. And I legit saluted myself. So I am not my name anymore. It's been a while. From the beginning, even, I was never acquainted to being a named entity. I mean, like when they call my name, I'm like, oh yeah, that's my name, yo. You know, you know. But I don't go around thinking, okay, I'm a character. I don't go narrating myself as a character every moment and being like, yeah, that's what thinking is. No. I will tell you, notice your world, and you gotta have this. This is the greatest thing I can tell you. Have the strength to realize, what if the others missed something? This is why my, I guess, inventor's OCD kicks in, right? For me, I'm like, shit, like I gotta reinvent the wheel to make sure they didn't miss anything. That's the issue. If I want to build civilization, if I want to update civilization 1.0, but you can't. And the whole point of civilization is that its higher powers and wills justify reality. It's such a strange world. It's like, I think just the belief that we are ourselves isn't, it could be wrong. Like, I'm sorry, not that it could be wrong, it's not, it could be incomplete. Because think about it, everything is, like right now, I want you to consider yourself as an agency. You're like an intelligent agency. But just look at everything outside of you. It's all based on design's relationship with the environment, which is a design before it. So reality is a relationship between past design being replaced by future design, and there is no such thing as the present. And that's why we suffer, because we're trying to find happiness. How? We're a fragmented psyche in the sense we have a memory trail, right? And we also have an ambition trail. The person's like, okay, I've been through this and that and this and that, and then the person's like, I'm gonna go do this and that and this and that. I think it's the next chapters of humanity require humans that care for the details of reality. I think in the next, you don't understand, like I've reached this point where if people are like, okay, even though I'm not spiritual in the sense that I think spirituality is the ego's last refuge. It took me a while to realize it. That true spirituality means that there is a power here beyond you. Can you deal with that? Can you because if a person's like, and imagine you're like this kind of like grumpy old atheist, and you're like, no, I will not have a higher power dictate my life, and then you see the person has no problem with the laws of their society, with everything that affects them that they don't decide on. And it's hilarious. We're acting in front of our it's like thoughts are acting in front of thoughts that were never there. This is why evil is a waste of the good that could have been, or inefficiency is a waste of an efficient moment. Okay, but at the same time, I don't know, inefficiency can also be used to catapult yourself into efficiency. Sometimes a person, like, it doesn't really matter. I think this is the issue, because mastery has to know both. If one considers mastery to be like a person who's failed and succeeded, right, that means they have an experience of a spectrum of all the times they've trained, right? So I'll give you, so for example, imagine how many times, like it's more because I haven't uploaded and I've lost a bunch of talks too, but before, but I've given around, okay, whatever, like the amount of talks I've given, each moment was a moment where I had to come and just stand in the moment. Just the vision, the inner realm vision, and the sentence. And I would look at, okay, what does this vision mean? Why is this vision in the presence of my mind? I am a very shy and very agreeable person in the outer realms sometimes, but in my inner realms, I am disagreeable with my own thoughts. That means I've been a person who I've been like, wait a minute, I don't think that fast. I'm not used to seeing that level of abstract future imagery. Like I notice that it's a room. That's why I call it the inner realms. Because they're trying to make you think the mind is something in your brain. That's so freaking like brainwashing. Like that's legit washing you into believing your mind's limited to your brain, but no, your mind is arising as an awareness where your whole body is found in. You have peripheral vision, yo. You notice reality. We're in a position, and the position is unique. And guess what, guys? Any person, let me like cure some unnecessary suffering the species is going through, right? Any person who's like, man, I wish I had something, or I wish I was somebody else, or I wish, like any person in those lives, especially young people, guys, it's a comparison game. Compare yourself to anything. I can compare myself to Gandhi and be like, yo, man, or compare myself to Mother Teresa and be like, man, shame on me. I should have like been more compassionate, and gone and talked in orphanages, you know? I can't tell you that it's like a symphony. It's no longer like I believe in this, I believe in that. To be honest, that game has passed. Like I believe because I know there's a higher power here, because the results have occurred in my experience that the only justification could have been that higher power. You don't understand. Like there's an intensity here, and it doesn't mean necessarily the deeper you see things the better things are. Like how at first when I was younger, when I started giving the talks, when people were like, that's too deep, man, that's too deep, I'll be like, yo, you lazy, can't imagine, you know like looping simulation. It is that moment in life where you start living not as a personality. You start becoming responsible for the presence of your whole moment. By the system making you think that you're an idea, you thought you have to be responsible for the inner idea of you and the feeling of you. But the issue is the ego doesn't know what's good for it. This is why it makes mistakes and updates. However, if the ego, like imagine somebody, like let's say they're like climbing a tree and they see a branch and they don't know, like they don't, or let's say they're climbing a mountain and they see this rock they want to jump to, like grab onto next, and they don't know like if the rock is solid enough or not, stable enough or not. Okay, so in that person's mind, they're gonna visualize: is that the right rock? Should it be on another rock? Do you see how the mind is working? The mind is living quickly ahead. The mind is like running ahead the moment it notices something. That's like, to me, I think it's strange. It's like a faster part of us. Do you know what it is? If I tell you, imagine like the lunch you ate yesterday floating in the air, like you can visualize that and gravity doesn't bring it down. Or if I imagine myself, I can imagine like throwing an apple at like the sky and it shooting towards outer space and going past the clouds. See, I can imagine that whole inner event sequence can happen, but the laws of physics don't apply to that. This means that our brains, what the mind is doing is legit taking reality based on reality's rules, but having the permission to re-simulate that reality without those rules. So what does this mean? Consciousness is the display of a being where one part of it is freer than another part. That's why there's a yearning to go home. That's why there's a yearning to return to your Lord, to the system admin, to the original earth, to the original moment, to the original self. Because whose life are we living if we don't even know where we are? Rise, mankind, rise, and as the civilization advances, or because we went as far as we could, because we dared to see further, because we dared to care further. History has known of, in some sense, foolish, in some sense, brutal, like blind, oblivious, ignorant, and, hellbound, how do I say it? Conquers. I am sorry, guys. You don't believe what just happened. Something intense happened right now. Anyways, sorry about the distraction. Back to it. I have no clue what the last image was, but I know where I'm heading with the talk, so I'll just continue. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, the most advanced. Ultimately, what can I say? We're inside an existential simulated system. So pay attention to how it's a simulated system. It's also a simulated testing zone. That means something specific is meant to happen on this plane by our nature of us being here. That means the value of our existence is not in just what we are in one moment. It is the moments we will be involved in, the moments that we will be required in, for in some sense we have been called forth to attend and be part of not just the lives of our species members, but the lives of the whole cosmos. The position of man is too rare. Even Uncle Ben told Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. So the mind of man has to realize it has been gifted a power of noticing reality far superior than all the other species on this planet. And with that noticing power comes its ability to recognize that human beings are not, yes, their body is an object. It's an objective node. The thoughts of them, they can treat their thoughts, even though it comes and goes, as subjective nodes, but in actuality, before the objective and subjective animation of an entity, there is a field of life, and that field of life never dies. And that field of life is the presence of the original system admin, but that system admin we cannot know. Therefore, any human being talking about the unseen is incomplete. Therefore, you need to see it as just design. I am not telling you how the world works, because the world I even acknowledge is beyond my eyes. But I wonder why I have these eyes. I wonder why humans have the awareness they do, and what if they are here actually to be out of all the species in this universal sector capable of realizing another reason why there is an evolutionary threshold, why there isn't aliens. Okay? And the reason is the moment you just know there is more, I don't know how you can act satisfied with this. That means if you can right now consider that the most advanced moment of being is here right now, it's actually here before the here was here. When they say God's presence is divine, in Islam, they consider, so there's 7 higher planes, 7 heavens, and they consider the angels, some of the angels, I believe, I don't remember the name of the angel, but there's an angel in Islam, they call it Alam al-Malakut, where this angels is so giant that its feet are in the lower heavens and its upper bodies are in the higher heavens. Do you understand? That means it's another way. See, Islam is this book telling you, literally, that this world is like a delusional enjoyment, and it's a test, and it's an opportunity to get to know the host of it, rather than thinking it's an infinite reincarnation school of growth. Like, what the F is that? You know, like we're being hosted here out of nowhere, and we got to figure out the host, and in some sense realize that there's a greater intelligence to this whole world. That means we're here being like, yo, we're in the world, and what is divinity? Guess what? Divinity was in the room before the room was the room. That's the point I'm trying to make. That the highest levels of reality, they are not levels of reality. They are the will of the original being. So your progression, and I'll let's say, as in quotations, a soul, only God knows truly what's in your heart. So nobody can judge you, because nobody knows like how you're standing behind your eyes in your inner realms. Only God knows, you know? And you can't share it like, you know, writers and, you know, creators and communicators share their inner realms. But the finale of the realization is that it's an unknown event. We're unknown. Anytime I want to relax from the known self not being able to configure with the known world, or its expectations not aligning to the known world, I just go into my unknown self. That means in the worst case scenario, I'm used to this, because there's been moments I've been shy and I just didn't know what to do. It all comes back to a moment where the moment is unknown. See, if you know what to do, the moment has known value. Do you know what I mean? When I see a vision, like when I see something in my inner realms, then I know what to say. Do you know? There's a known value. But if you find yourself in an unknown moment, that unknown presence is something else. It's the realization the world you've known is the world you've known. Mind blowing. The person's like, you're telling me my whole life, everything that meant anything to me only meant that way to me? And I'll be like, yeah, pretty much. Nobody has your eyes. In the same way, nobody's occupying the same moment of the space-time continuum. Anyways, thank you for listening. I hope this was a interesting lecture. The system admin knows best. Go directly to the system admin, bypass any sort of conditional moderation. The original reality to me, yeah, everybody's treating this life as real, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get how it can be real, but it's starting to make more sense if I treat it as a simulation. I start valuing myself even correctly. Like, okay, my body's simulated here for some time. My mind's energy levels or my curiosity and my attention is here. At some point, the outer realms are going to pull me more than the inner realms can. You know? Or I might find an ingenious way to do both. Who knows? As soon as I can figure out, my financial strategy for this lifetime, because these talks are free. you know, that's the point. Because everybody, like, the general consensus wisdom was like, bro, don't give anything free, people won't care for it. And I was like, nah, man, how many moments are gonna be wasted for the person to find the right moment to pay for something? That means, to me, it's not about the money. Even if I had the money, it would go back to the same purpose. It's about the advancement of human civilization, all of us, to identify with the human species and to care for the advancement and greatness of the human species, more than, in some sense, ideas of our time. Who knows? Like, in 1,000 years, like, are they gonna even need to speak languages? Is everybody just gonna, like, touch each other and upload their knowings? Like, who knows how advanced civilization can be? But I can see some blind spots because the geometry is universal. That means the shape of existence, you might not believe it, surpasses time. That means there's a person like me right now existing and talking in this way. 100% this pattern has echoed before. 100%. Okay? You know? Somebody in the chat section said, hopefully my children will see it. I'll tell you this. In one talk I said, I gave an example. In an advanced civilization, a child who's like new to the civilization, goes to the parents and says, parents, what is everybody doing? And that's when the parents are like, all right, let's explain it to you that human beings were all doing oblivious, meaningless acts, each in their own worlds of meaning, and these own worlds of meaning were doing Hunger Games in regards to economical and social classes, right, and systems, right? And it's like suddenly humanity realized that its success, the reason we survived, like humans joined as a tribe, all got spears and sharpened it, and together freaked out a mammoth and hunted it from different directions. And they had food for a very long time. Teams can achieve things that individuals can't. But sometimes individuals have to be individuals so teams can have meaning. Also, there is things like that too. So there is a purpose for those who are rogue as well. Like, lone wolves are kind of like, to me, like secret divine agents. They're like the 007 of, the actual, divine agents. To be honest, I think when life gets boring, I just realize how much I don't know. When life gets exciting, I just realize how much there is to know. Doesn't end. It's a game. Your mind, your psyche, your mental health, all of it, it's the game you've either subconsciously accepted, or you got to just bring it to your consciousness and be like, okay, like, what am I doing here? How many things can I notice? What are my blind spots? I'll give you an example. For example, for me as a person, it took me a while, right? And nobody will know, like, the extent of, like, how difficult, not difficult, but like how long it took for me to have some realizations of being honest with emotions. Do you know what I mean? That means like pretty much mental health is you being more honest with everything. They're like, yo, man, do you know the mental, like, imagine the guy went to therapy and the person's like, what happened in therapy? It's like the guy told me, like, I didn't even need to pay and said, hey, man, go live one day 100% honestly and come and see me the next day and tell me if you even have these problems you, like, I haven't even heard yet. Right? And I'm telling you, if you just simplify the moment, realize it's okay for all of this to be okay. It's okay that we don't know things and we know things, you know? But what isn't okay is if we know better and we don't apply. I think this is it. And we got to understand something about our brains. They loop in familiarity. The brain pretty much has associated the familiar to safe, the unfamiliar as unsafe. But for me, the familiar became boring, so the unfamiliar became fascinating. The unknown is fascinating, but only when you realize knowledge is the beginning. Is sorry, not the beginning, like in a deep sense. Knowledge is like it's the start of the journey to think that you're an object, not to be capable of considering yourself as a name and an idea, a character and a story, like a subjective being and an objective being at the same time. Like that's like we start off from there, but then you're going to, I guess, at this point, know better and follow the rhythms of your own life. That hidden melody of life you hear that nobody else can. That beauty you see that nobody else has even the eyes or the care or the moment or to even look at that moment. Do you know there's things I've seen in this lifetime and like a majority of them are processable, like, but some of them are not processable. I don't know what happened. Like not that I wasn't conscious, I was fully conscious, but it was like something in more intelligent in the moment made everything happen in the moment and it went, the everything settled. I don't know how to explain. Like there is a higher power here. Anyways, folks, I'm gonna end the talk here. Thank you for listening. Don't just go towards your highest truth. Just wonder about what's actually going on. And if we assume we know it from the beginning, then that's obviously not. Like there's too many unknown variables. That means it's like we're behaving more like a being that has faith in this unknown world and has functioned so far and is now recently in the last 300, like, let's say last 10,000 years it started to be articulated, you know. Very fascinating. Anyways, thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, the most advanced, all praise due to the Lord of the worlds, which is another way of saying all praise and all attention in manifestation returns to the original state. All simulated states, that means that's what we have in common. We're simulated existential beings. All simulated states are destined, like even we return to the original. Death death is not the final moment. Meeting the host of everything is. Thank you guys and good night. And guys, look at the title of these lectures and write down in the comment section what it really meant to you, what it really means to you. Anyways, thank you for listening.